So since starting the Warhammer Armies Project battle reports, I've been getting a bunch of messages, emails, and otherwise about a video series of the major changes or review of the rule books and the army books for the edition. I don't think I'm ready to do that yet, but what I can do is start the series with a video of the basic changes that are in the Warhammer Armies projects over 8th edition of Warhammer Fantasy Battles. Now, I'm not going to get to every possible change, just going to be a short video of the basics and things to look out for if you don't want to read the rulebook right away. That's basically, I'm calling you guys out. That's the thing. You don't want to read the rulebook, we want to know the changes. I get it. My first read through of any rulebook is the most difficult. So I like to know the changes, play some games, and then I read through the book, and it helps me process it a lot better. But I've already done the read through a couple of times, more than that. So I'll give you the basic changes. We're going to start off with the basic rules, as the heading is called under the rule book. We're going over each chapter one by one, and I'll give you the differences as I remember them. So we have the first thing I noticed inside the basic rules section is unit strength. It's something that's going to be different in this edition. So 8th edition, I think, if I remember correctly, was the only edition of Warhammer Fantasy Battles that did not have a unit strength characteristic or profile, but it's brought back inside the WAP. So unit strength is, well, that's just it. It's unit strength. It's a characteristic of basically how big or strong a model is. To clarify, an infantry model, a standard human, elf, dwarf, or undead, has a unit strength of 1. So 20 high elf spearmen in a block, a unit strength of 20 total, 1 per. Let's say 5 Bretonnian knights. Cav have a unit strength of 2. So every knight counts as 2. A unit of 5 knights will have a unit strength of 10. Monsters and chariots, they use their starting number of wounds as their unit strength. Now, there are many reasons why this is going to matter later on, but that's a unit strength under the basic rules. Next thing, line of sight is actually different in this book than we have played in 8th edition, and I believe in, well, we've had true line of sight forever. You can no longer see over models with the same unit strength as yourself. So basically, if you have infantry and another unit of infantry and they want to shoot at them, no problem, unless right here is one more unit of infantry. You can't see through models the same size. Now, unit strength 1 can see unit strength 2, 4, 5 over other infantry, and vice versa. So the unit, say a orc and goblin giant has unit strength 6, he can see over infantry to other infantry. I think that's it for the basic rules. We're going to move on to what's in fighting a battle here. Choosing an army battlefield. Oh, choosing an army is a little bit different in this edition. So, like 8th edition, you're allowed to have 25% of your points in your army allocated to lords, and 25% allocated to heroes. However, the difference is the total of heroes and lords can't exceed 35% of your army total. So many armies, like many human armies, can do multiple lords within the 500 point typical allotment in a 2000 point game, but not have that many points left over, obviously, for heroes. But yeah, so it's still 25 and 25, but 35% total. It's a positive change. It's a nice change. It's not that hard to get the characters you want, but it prevents you from making like super mega Healy lords. Moving unit is about the same, except for actually, well, let's go to charges first. There are a lot of changes to the charging in the Warhammer Armies project. Infantry, when they declare a charge, rolls 2d6, picks the highest of the 2 dice, plus their movement for their charge. And if they fail the charge, they move forward the highest of the 2d6 dice. So infantry's charge range is significantly shorter. When I first read that, I thought it would make infantry just kind of like useless, never charging. After playing a handful of games, I was a little iffy at first about the new charge rules, but I think they're spectacular. I really dig the new charge rules. So infantry, 2d6 pick the highest of the 2 dice, and plus your movement for your charge. Models with Swift Stride roll 2d6 plus their movement. Models with Swift Stride and a movement characteristic of 7 or higher roll 3d6, take the 2 highest plus their movement. So Cav charges far. Infantry, not so much. Now, if you've not played the game and you're just hearing that, your gut reaction is like, okay, that makes infantry kind of useless. It doesn't. Honestly, play a few games. It's actually, I really dig it. It's a solid change. Charge reactions, there are a couple of changes. We have, for example, light cav can stand and shoot and then retreat. And light cav that rallies after retreating, or sorry, retreating from a charge, can automatically rally next turn. Anything else in the charge? Compulsory rally thing, many moves. Nothing I need to point out. Okay, next we're going to Magic. Magic has the biggest sweeping changes. Yet if you played previous editions, it's very similar to what we've seen in the past in regards to kind of like a 7th edition. But it doesn't matter. Magic, you still roll your 2d6 for wins of magic. You get, if it's your turn, you get the full value of the combined dice total for your power dice, and your opponent gets the highest of the 2 dice for dispel dice. Then you channel. You channel 1 die for a wizard level in your army. So a level 4 wizard will use 4 dice to channel. Now, for power dice, you channel on a 5+. So you roll 4 dice, every 5+ gets you a new die, and then for dispel dice, dispel remains a 6+ to channel. Wizards now pick their spells instead of rolling from them random, which is a big change. But you can only pick spells based on your wizard level. So basically, every lore still has their spells ranked 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, plus the signature spell. To take the number 6 spell, for example, say Lore of Death, Purple Sun, number 6, you have to have a level 4 wizard. A level 4 can take spells up to rank 6. A level 3 can take up to rank 5, and I believe level 2 can take up to rank 4. And I can't remember rank 1. Rank 1 is probably 2 or 3. It's probably 3. Not important, but you have to have a certain wizard level to get the higher end spells. When you cast or dispel, you don't add your wizard level anymore. You add your wizard level rounded, cut in half, rounded up. So a level 1 or 2 wizard adds +1 or +1 to cast or dispel. A level 3 or 4 wizard adds +2 to their casting or dispel attempts. You can have more than 12 magic dice. There's no cap anymore. Every wizard who knows, like, if you know a high spell, you know the lore attribute. Sorry, not the lore attribute, the signature spell, which is Soul Quench and Drain Magic. So you know your signature spells plus lore attribute, something there. Okay, casting spells. Okay, now casting spells. There's a cap to how many spells you can throw at a dice. For example, there's a chart in the book. A level 3 wizard can throw a maximum of 5 dice at a spell. Double 6s is no longer irresistible force. So now when you cast a spell, you throw as many dice as you're allowed to for your wizard level allotment. And for every natural 6 you roll, it's called ultimate power. It means you grab another die, not from your pool, you got another die just extra, and you roll it. And you throw it in there, and you must do that. So every natural 6 explodes into another die. And if it's a 6 again, it'll keep exploding. You can throw 2 dice at a spell and end up with a spell because you rolled nothing but 6s with, just like 8 dice in the spell. So 6s explode indefinitely. That is the same for dispelling. 6s explode indefinitely. Now, however, when you cast a spell and you have 2 natural 1s, that's a miscast. That's not a bad thing for dispelling. So dispelling double 1s doesn't mean anything. It's just for casting. So you can end up throwing 4 dice at a spell, roll 2 1s, 2 6s. You have to roll 2 more dice because you have to roll your exploding 6s. Maybe a 4 and a 3. You got your spell value off. If you reach the total level, the total casting value of the spell goes off, and then you resolve the miscast. So your spell will still go and miscast. Now, your opponent will get a chance to dispel it, obviously. And miscasts are different. How you resolve the chart now, it's a D6 chart. So you roll single D6, and then you add the total number of dice rolled in the spell. So if you rolled 3 dice, you got a 1, a 4, and a 6. The 6 explodes into another die. Oh, it's a 1 now. So now you have 2 1s. But you met your total value for the spell, so the spell goes off. Your opponent didn't dispel it. You resolve the spell. And then you roll your D6 to do your miscast. And you originally only threw 3 dice, but 1 exploded, so that's 4. So D6 plus 4 for your miscast. Consult the chart. It's an interesting chart. It's a lot harder to have your wizard just die off a miscast if you have a low low die count in your pool. Now, spells like Fireball still have different casting values. Many spells in the game have different casting values. Fireball, for example, is the lowest casting value gets you D6 strength 4 hits. The medium casting value gets you 2d6 strength 4 hits, and the highest casting value gets 3d6 strength 4 hits. When you go to cast that spell, you don't declare which level you are attempting to cast. You just roll your dice, and whichever level you met, you then get that spell, or that effect of the spell. So some spells have longer ranges for higher casting values. You don't have to declare what you're attempting to cast. You roll it. You have to kind of spell you're attempting to cast, but you don't have to declare what, if you're trying to cast the upgraded version of the spell or not. If you meet it, if you don't, you get your lower version of the spell. It's a positive change, I think, in my opinion. In fact, I'm going to stop saying that because I think every change has been a positive change, in my opinion. Bound spells, like items, will add, say, the Ring of... the King's Ring of Fury, for example, has the Soul Quench spell in it. I think it's like maybe casting value 4 or 5 in the ring. A magic item with a bound spell will give a free die to cast that spell. That's not the same for innate bound spells, but magic items will give you a free die. Let's move on to shooting. Tons of changes in shooting. Shooting in 8th edition was... Okay, here's the quick evolution of shooting over the years. 5th edition, it was pretty effective. 6th edition, the rules for shooting didn't change, but the model counts of armies went higher. So effective shooting, just by fact that there's more models on the table, went down. 7th edition, same model count, slightly increases, maybe even arguably higher armor saves across the board on average. 8th edition, model count was so high, shooting just doesn't, like, you have to go all in on shooting to be, like, dwarf armies could do it. It wasn't a thing. Shooting just wasn't scary anymore. Now in the Warhammer Armies project, it is significantly better. In fact, we haven't played with any dwarves yet, but I fear a dwarf gun line. I fear an Empire gun line, and I think even Wood Elves can do Wood Elves on high. All the elves can do disgusting shooting lists. For shooting, you consult your ballistic skill, and then consult the chart what you hit on as normal. Ballistic skill of 3 will fire their missile weapon, hit on a 4. Ballistic skill of 4 hits on a 3, just like before, but the modifiers changed. So there is no longer a penalty for long range. There is a bonus +1 to hit at short range now, but short range is 4 inches. There is a -1 penalty for moving. So if you have longbows and you don't move and you're an elf, you're firing all your shots on 3s. Some weapons changed. We'll talk about the bow real quick. The bow, all bows, for example, are multiple fire 2. So if you don't move, you can fire 2 shots with the bow at a -1 penalty to hit. I'm really digging shooting. Thrown weapons can be thrown on the charge. You declare a charge, you move in, throw your weapon. Pretty cool. Close combat. There is going to be a number of changes. Tons, actually. When you go fight in close combat, you get a bonus +1 initiative if you had charged. And then some other weapons will add additional initiative modifiers. So a spear, while mounted, will give you a +1 initiative. A lance, while mounted, will give you a +2 initiative. These things stack. So let's say a Bretonnian Knight of the Realm, I think he's initiative 3 or 4. You know what? Let's go with the Silver Helm. I know they're initiative 5. A Silver Helm is initiative 5, but they charged to go up to initiative 6. But they also have lances, initiative 8. Initiative matters again, now that we have modifiers. Great weapons are no longer always strikes last. Great weapons are -2 initiative to a minimum of 1. And then +2 strength in the first round of combat, +1 strength afterwards. Spears finally got a buff they needed for many editions. When spears are charged by large things, cav, monstrous beast, monstrous creature, stuff like that, they get a bonus to their strength, among other things. So a few weapon changes. But the big change is the bonus initiative on the fight. So basically, let's say orcs with initiative 2 charged into a unit of Empire Halberdiers. Normally the Halberdiers would swing first with their initiative 3, but the orcs initiative 2 goes up to 3 and they swing at the same time on the charge. Still fighting in 2 ranks. Ooh, parry. You can now parry if you have 2 hand weapons. It's a pretty positive change, I think. Makes sense too, because where else would you go into combat? Is there anything more in combat? Other than combat resolution, there are a number of changes. One brought back the unit strength is now a thing. So if you outnumber your opponent by unit strength, you get a +1. You just win combat by additional +1. So 40 goblins outnumbering 20 orc biggins. The goblins get +1 to the combat res for outnumbering them. Let's say 12 knights fighting 20 halberdiers at the end of the combat. The knights would actually outnumber them because cav counts as 2 models for unit strength. Monstrous Infantry is 3. More combat res. Now, a big one is something that I personally had trouble wrapping my mind around. In multiple combatants, I don't think I can quickly explain this clearly. Just know that if you're in combat with multiple units, say 2 of mine and 3 of my opponents are all in the same combat, to determine winner or loser of the overall fight, you do 1 test to figure out who wins or loses, but then after that you have to break up all your casualties by unit. I know I'm not going to explain this because I won't be able to do it justice. Just know that if you have multiple units in 1 close combat, after you figure out who wins or loses, you got to break all that up and do multiple tests to see who's going to stay, who's going to flee, because the numbers do change slightly, or potentially greatly. Ooh, always strikes first, still the same. All elves lost that. Pretty basic. Here's one more. Just basic rules. Ooh, Battle Standard Bearers now only allow you to reroll break tests and panic tests. They're still very useful. I just don't think you have to have them in your army all the time. Fear, I think, is a good change. Fear went from game-breakingly good in previous editions to completely useless in 8th. Now what Fear does is if your side causes fear, you get +1 combat resolution, unless the opponent has immune to psychology or immune to fear or fear themselves. So if you are susceptible to fear, it's just +1 combat resolution, and there are other modifiers to that depending on unit strength. Ward saves are better. Ward saves now stack. Let's say you have you're a demon for some reason. You have a 5, or whatever reason, you have a 5-up ward save, and you have a hand weapon and shield, or 2 hand weapons. 2 hand weapons, that gives a 6-up parry. So you have a 5-up ward save. Parry gives you a 6-up ward save. They'll combine to a 4-up ward save. Now that caps out at 4. Doesn't matter how many extra ward saves you might have. You can never get better than a 4-up ward save through combining. Magic resistance still gives ward save, but it also adds +1 modifier to dispel attempts. To explain, let's say Grail Knights, for example, have magic resistance in the squad because there's a lady, prophetess is a lady in the unit handing out magic resistance too. The Knights have a 6-up ward save. A spell gets thrown at them, adding the ward save, and the magic resistance to a 4-up ward save. But a spell cast at those Knights will, if I go to dispel it, I add my dice total plus my wizard who's dispelling its bonus, plus the magic resistance total bonus, so additional +2 to dispel. That, however, doesn't stack. The bonus to dispel does not stack. All cavalry, all cav adds impact attacks at this basic strength of the rider. So 10 silver helms, or not the rider, the mount. 10 silver helms charge in. 5 horses make it into combat, into base contact with the enemy. Horses are strength 3. That is 5 strength 3 impact attacks. Stomp is, there's no stomp in Thunder Stomp. It's just stomp now. So Monstrous Infantry no longer stomp. Just monsters. These stomp is just what old Thunder Stomp used to be. Champions are no longer characters, so they can't challenge or accept challenges. Interesting tactical element with that, and having a lot of fun knowing that your champions just can't save you by accepting or issuing a challenge. All lightning attacks ignore armor. Big thing, because most of Skaven's attacks are lightning. Oh, but they don't ignore natural armor, which is natural armor is what we now call scaly skin. Ooh, there's plenty more. Regeneration. At the time I'm making this video, Regeneration is a save you can take after your ward save. But, for example, if you're in combat, you have 2-up armor and you rolled a 1, you failed it. And then you have 5-up ward save and you rolled a 3 and you failed it. But then you have a 4-up regen. You take the wound, you roll the 4+. If you get your 4+, you ignore the wound, but your opponent will still get the wound for combat resolution. Because it did happen. It just got regenerated. So regeneration is a save you take after ward. But as of the time I'm making this video, adds combat resolution. Now, there is some talk that there's going to get a change or an update to that rule. So I would check on that one if you're watching this later on down the line. Poison changes. It is a straight nerf to poison changes. I like the new poison rule. So poison, what it was previously, is if you had a poison anything, a 6 to hit would automatically wound as well. Now what poison does is it just +1 to wound. So a skink blowpipe, 6 to hit, used to automatically wound. Now it hits. Then you got to roll the wound. Say you're strength 3, you're trying to wound a tough 7 monster. You would need a 6 to wound. Now it's a 5 to wound. It is a nerf. It's a straight nerf. I like it better. Though, demons and constructs and undead things are now immune to poison, which... That one I'm not. That one I don't... I'm not... I don't agree with that one. I'll say that. But I'm not going to criticize EA, because even I haven't been playing Warhammer Armies Project that long. Scouts. Anything... It's not scouts. Anything with skirmish can vanguard 6 inches at the start of the game. Pretty cool. Volley fire allows you to fire with all your missile. Like, you have the entire rank. So you have 30 high elf archers. Both have volley fire. Normally, the first 2 ranks can fire. Now, all 3 ranks can fire. Not just half of the 3rd rank, but volley firing is additional -1 to hit. So say you do have a unit of 30 archers. They're high elven archers. They have ballistic skill 4, so hitting on 3s. Let's say they didn't move, so they're going to volley fire. And they're going to multiple shot. So you fire 2 shots per elf, 30 mauls in the squad, 60 shots, but -2 modifier. 1 for the volley, 1 for the multiple shot. So you're hitting on 5s. Oh, what else we talk about? The addition to medium armor to the game is a solid increase to just armor saves across the board. So we have light armor, which is a 6-up, medium armor, which is a 5-up, heavy armor, which is a 4-up armor save, full plate armor is a 3-up armor save. So one more level of armor instead of light, heavy, full plate. Now we got light, medium, heavy, full plate. Shields provide extra protection for infantry from missile attacks. So shields add +1 to your armor save. That's not magical. +1 to your armor save for your standard shield. If the opponent is hitting you with a missile attack and your infantry with a shield, you get a bonus +1 to your armor save if the attack comes from the front. However, if you're infantry and you're taking an armor save from the rear, and you don't get your shield bonus at all. So from missile attacks, shields on infantry, additional +1 from the front, normal on the sides, no bonus from missile attacks coming from the rear. More of a thematic change. Cannons now have to declare a target like a stone thrower. Cannons will scatter just like a stone thrower. You see, you aim at the big monster, and then you roll your scatter die and your artillery die, and that's where the cannonball might aim. It might land, I should say. However, it only scatters half the artillery die. Cannons are significantly less reliable at punking out monsters and chariots and war machines, though still very good, very strong. I arguably would have liked to see maybe even a bigger hit to cannons, but maybe not. I think I want to play more games with it. A nice, at least this. Cannons are not nearly as reliable at poking out monsters. Monsters actually can be in the game now, and cannons can still do their thing, right? Battlefield terrain, you cannot see through trees if they are 5 inches or higher. They count as unit strength 5 for line of sight purposes. So Cav unit strength 2. So Monstrous Infantry, let's see, ogres, they're unit strength 3 for line of sight. Trees are unit strength 5, so ogres can't see through them. But monsters, the average monster has 6 wounds, most of them anyway, that I've seen so far, can see right over the trees. So a Gorgon or a Orcs and Goblin giant has 6 wounds, so they count as unit strength 6. They can see over trees, where Cav and Infantry, Monstrous Infantry, can't see over the trees. However, they can all see that giant because he's bigger than the trees. More of a line of sight thing, but that's a terrain type deal. Don't want to talk about anything else. Terrain, not really. Yeah, I think we're going to terrain. Choosing army we already covered. Yeah, I think we covered all the basic changes. So shooting far more reliable, magic just better as a whole. Close combat, the game can get more grindy in combat because of all the changes to close combat. Oh, Horde is gone. Horde is gone. And Steadfast is a little harder to get. Oh, another thing for making your units is a big change, actually. You know what a rank in a file is? Most of you do. A handful of people maybe not understand it. So a rank is how many rows of infantry you have or models in a unit. A file is how many you have left to right. So basically, if you are 5 wide, you have 5 files. If you are 5 deep, you have 5 ranks. In this edition, you may not have more ranks than you have files. So no longer will you ever see the unit of 5 Skaven that are 10 ranks deep, and they're walking around like a bus. Doesn't work, it's unwieldy, doesn't make sense. You can't actually do that in a game now. A lot of the spells, I'm not going to go through all the spells, a lot of them got tweaked, a lot of them are exactly the same. But overall, a very, very good addition. I've said this, you may have seen this, heard me say this many times in my barracks. I wish I moved the Warhammer Armies project a long time ago. It is so good. Try a couple of games out. Let me know what you feel. And if you feel like I missed any big, important changes, comment below. Though, obviously, I can't cover them all. This is just a quick 30-minute video of basic changes that you're going to look at getting into the Warhammer Armies project. Hopefully, I know exactly the person I'm making this video for. After you finish watching this, go play your game and then read the book. If it all makes more sense to you, let me know, buddy. Everybody else, thanks for watching. Stay tuned for many Warhammer Armies project battle reports in the future. And then soon I will start the series where I start to review the actual army books. I want to get a few more games under my belt, but I feel like I'm getting close to being able to talk about a couple of them. Thanks for watching, guys. Happy wargaming.